There are winners and there are, no, there are winners and there are not winners. But winning is better than not winning, all right? So the thing is, some of you out here are very, very competitive. Who would say I'm pretty competitive? Anybody would admit to that? Okay. I am not. I am a member of the non-confrontational, group. I go to Non-Confrontational Anonymous and to try to help myself, with this affliction of mine of being non-confrontational. I thought there's something wrong with me because I'm not all that competitive. In high school, in sports, I used to be very competitive, I wrestled. And I was a mean wrestler, and like I say, I'm not sure, I just, nothing, I don't care anymore. And I just thought there was something wrong with me. And then I was introduced to the Enneagram. Yeah, all right, how many like the Enneagram? All right, okay, I see all you eights out there. All right, so I found out that I am a 9, and the 9 is just it's the peacemaker, it's the non-confrontational person, and I'm not weird. I'm just what God made me different. Okay, so but the fact is, you competitive people just don't get me. God made me that way, so give me a break, all right? But there are areas of life, even non-confrontational people, even those of you that could care less, where you come out. In fact, I really do well at golf because I really don't care. If I'm saying, I play with a guy who's very competitive, and every shot that goes bad, it's just, I am a little upset that they won't mow the golf course where I play. It's just a little upsetting. But the fact is, I can play golf and enjoy it even if I do bad. All right? But there are areas of life where winning is essential. Winning is better than not winning in your relationships. Winning's better in your health. Winning's better at work than not winning. Winning is better in your finances than not winning. And winning, by the way, is better in your parenting than not winning. So, we're going to look at a question this morning that will change your life. And even if you were here and you weren't saved, you weren't a child of God, if you will ask this question, this will help you. It will change your life. And honestly, when you answer this question, this may be your takeaway. I caught some of you off guard. But no, this could be your takeaway in the morning if you answer this question. If you don't answer this question, okay, King Solomon put it like this, and he said, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity, emptiness, and vexation. Vexation is a striving after, and it says all is vanity and vexation of spirit. And the word spirit there is the same word for wind, for breath. It's kind of all-encompassing. So what he's saying here is, I have seen all the works that are done under the sun. Behold, all is vanity, it's emptiness, and just chasing after the wind. So if you don't answer this question, if you don't ask this question to yourself, you can spend your life just chasing after the wind, just striving. And, never getting there, never catching it. If you don't ask this question, you'll never get an answer to the question. So without the answer to the question, you're going to live your life like you feel like there's some competition going on. There's some race that's going on. and if it's the rat race, and you're gonna feel the pressure, to win, or at least do well, but you really don't know what you're running for, running after. I was some years back. For whatever reason, I did a lot of kids camps. I preached a lot of kids camps, and I was over in Indiana preaching a kids camp. And I think it's because the mental capacity of me and kids, kind of. Okay, so anyway, I did a lot of kids camps, and I was preaching on Philippians, and and it says, I press toward the mark of prize and high calling of God in Jesus Christ. I was trying to emphasize to them the need to get a goal to go after. And so I looked it up throughout the audience, and I called two of the bigger boys that I could find, looked pretty healthy, looked pretty athletic, as much as a 10-year-old can look athletic, But anyway, I called them up there, and I said, okay, guys, are you ready? We're going to have a race. And they said, oh, okay. And I said, mark, set, go. And then one went, wait, no, mark, set, go. And the other was going, but, and I said, no, mark, set, go. So one kid just started running aimlessly out into a field, and the other one just started running in circles. It was great, man. And I just stood there, and it was in an outdoor pavilion kind of thing. So this one kid, he's running, it's like Forrest Gump, running out of the football field, right? And I'm just standing over there and watching, and they ran until they were exhausted. They were just, we do the same thing. If you don't answer this question, it's going to be like what? It's going to be like, life will be like you're in a race and you just are exhausted. So, this is the question. You like the way I drug it out? You're really asking, what is it? Maybe you put it together by now, I don't know. What's a win? What's a win? When it comes to your finances, what's a win look like? When it comes to your relationship, what's a win look like? When it comes to work, what's a win look like? When it comes to your parenting style, what's a win look like? You've got to ask these questions. When it comes to going to school, what's a win look like? And here's the thing. If you don't identify your win in whatever area, someone else will. So if you don't say, okay, whether it's an influential friend or whether it's social media, if you don't identify what you would like to see, the win that you would like to see, someone or something else will. Maybe it's your parenting. Maybe it's your grandparenting. Work, relationships, finances, school, whatever it might be. You really need to identify what a win looks like. Without a mark. And here's what some of us do. We really didn't, say, okay, this is my win in finances. When I get there, I want to, when I get to retirement, I want that. Some of us just kind of, it's like we shoot an arrow at a board, right? And the arrow hits the board, and then we run over and draw a circle around it and say, okay, I hit the bullseye. You didn't hit the bullseye. That's not a win. It's what you fell into. So, we really need to identify what our win looks like, whatever area of life. And maybe you're winning in some areas of life and not winning in other areas of life. But if you want to be a winner and not a not winner, identify. The Apostle Paul, and most of us understand who the Apostle Paul was. He wrote 2/3 of the New Testament. He was, the apostle, if you will, that to the Gentiles. And so I'll kind of give you the backdrop. And the backdrop to the Apostle Paul was he was Saul of Tarsus, and he was a Pharisee of the Pharisees. He was the son of a Pharisee. He was really Pharisee, all right, and he was serious about serving the Lord. And so as he served God, he found himself actually, just infuriated by this new sect of believers who were following a prophet from Nazareth, all right? And he made it his goal to wipe out this new sect, this new cult, as they would see it, of the prophet of Nazareth, who was crucified and rumored in their realm, rumored to be raised from the dead. And he's going to do away with the church. So much so that he testified against people. He had people tortured. He had people thrown in jail. He saw to the fact that some of them were even disappeared, and no one knew what happened to them, responsible for their death. And he had to deal with this for the rest of his life. I'm preaching Christ, and I'm starting churches, and the guy is saying, you know what, you had my brother put in jail. You had my brother tortured. Throughout his life, he'd have to put up with this kind of stuff. That, I thought I knew what a wind looked like, but I was wrong. I was dead wrong. Look what he says here in 1 Corinthians. For I am the least of the apostles, that am not meant me to be called an apostle, because I persecuted the church. And this can't be overstated. He come down on the church like no one ever had. But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace which was bestowed upon me was not in vain. Here's what he's saying here. But, I am what I am. I can't change the past. I mean, and remember now, we're looking at Paul's trying to identify what a win is, okay? And he says, this is my win. I can't change my past. I am what I am. But you know what? When God showed me grace, He didn't waste it on me. It isn't like, God said, okay, I'm going to show you grace, and yet you turned out to be a real not winner. You thought I was going to say loser, didn't you? I'm not using the word loser ever in this sermon, except I just did. All right, so anyway, and the grace that was bestowed upon me was not in vain. But I labored more abundantly than they all. Yet not I, but the grace of God was in me. Here's Paul's win. I'm going to work harder than anybody else. Can't change my past. Can't do anything about the days I persecuted the church. But I'm going to work harder than anybody else. Paul's saying, when it comes to my calling, my work, my job, I'm going to outlabor them all. But I labor more abundantly than they all. Than who all? Than the apostles. Than Matthew. I'm going to labor harder. I'm going to labor harder than John. I'm going to labor harder than James. I'm going to labor harder than, Nathaniel. I'm going to labor harder than Andrew. I'm going to labor, you think I'm going to list them all, don't you? I can't remember anymore. All right, so anyway. But I labor more abundantly than they all, yet not I, but the grace of God which was with me. Therefore, whether it were I or they, so we preach and so we believe. That's his win. I'm going to preach and out-preach, outwork all the others. So, can't change the past. God's grace that was bestowed upon me was not wasted. My win is to outwork everybody. And then Paul, begins to show us a mission statement. And I should jump forward I should say I'm going to jump forward to see Paul's mission statement in chapter 9. And we're still in 1 Corinthians. For though I be free from all men, yet I have made myself servant unto all, that I might gain the more. I might gain the more. This is Paul's win. He's saying, I'm a free man. And yet I make myself a servant. Why? So I can win people. I can convince them that Jesus is the Son of God. That if you're going to have a security in heaven, it's going to be through Jesus Christ. And so he's preaching Jesus. For though I be free from all men, yet I have made myself a servant. Why? Here's my win, that I may gain the more. So Paul's identified his win. Look what he goes on, and he says, and unto the Jews I became the Jew. Because he says that I might gain the more. That begs the question, how are you going to do that, Paul? How are you going to gain more people? All right? This is how he's going to do it. It's his job description. All right? His win is to gain people. How are you going to do it? To the Jews I became as a Jew, that I might gain the Jews. To them that are under the law, this is the Torah. This is the Old Testament. Not their Old Testament. They wouldn't see it as that, but this would be their Bible. And he's just saying, you know what? This is what I got to do to get my win. I got to become a Jew. And you might say, well, Paul, you are a Jew. But he's saying, no, I'm going to be Jewier than any other Jew out there. I know it's not a word, but I'm going to be Jewier than anybody else out there that are under the law. Because with the Jews, that's what it was all about. You just keep the law. And if and not that the law was easy to keep, but when they, got to it, they just decided, we're going to make up more laws. So, the Jews were just all about the law. And that I might gain, he wants to win, them that are under the law. To them that are without the law, this would be Gentiles. This is nobody, other people that weren't bound by keeping like the 10 biggies and the 630 some others. He says, to them that are without the law, as without the law, not being without the law of God, but under the law of Christ. So if you remember, Jesus, when he left, he said, okay, guys, well, I know there's the 10 biggies, I know there's the 600 plus, and then you got your oral laws and all these things you made up and all that, but I'm going to leave you with one new commandment, that you love one another as I've loved you. That's it. That's the only law that counts, and that's what Paul's saying here. To them that are without the law, people who aren't under their Bible, their Old Testament law, all right? But he says they would fall under the law of Christ, which is you love people like God has loved you, all right? Why? That I might gain, that I might win them that are without the law, that I might gain them without the law. So, that I might gain more, that I might win more. How are you going to do that? To the Jews, I'm going to be Jewier than anybody else, and I'm going to win them to Jesus. And to the people who aren't Jews, I'm going to win them with the law of Christ, that you just love people as God has loved you. And to the weak, now this weak is, it's a broad term, and it can mean everything from weak in strength, weak morally, but it's basically, it's talking about a person who is, just weak in a spiritual sense, okay? So they're not religious. So he's referring to, in context here, and you can go to the Hebrew and kind of dig into it, or the Greek, and dig into it. But he's really just referring to people who aren't religious. So to the weak, I became as weak, that I might gain the weak. So he's just saying, okay, if I show up and I look like, Joe religion, I became holier than thou, I'm not going to gain people who, really have no spiritual concern. So he says, I became as weak. I didn't become holier than thou. I became down to their level, their spiritual level, that I might gain the weak. I am made all things to all men, that I might by all means save some. That's my win. That's what Paul's saying. So, how did he do? I think he did pretty good. It's been over 2,000 years and we're still talking about Paul. It's been over 2,000 years, and the only reason that we're here today is because Paul got Gentile churches started. And of course, churches start churches, save people, help to save people, and we find ourselves here after years and years of development, a church, about 8 people. Why? Because Paul identified his win. Now, he jumps to a sports metaphor here, okay? And here's what he says. 25. You know what? I have messed up. Well, this is great, right? I need verse 23. Can you get that real quick, Sam? She's very good at this stuff. There you go. And this I do for the gospel's sake, that I might be taker thereof with you. And next verse, 24, if you got that. She is good. Did you see how quick she got that? Okay. Know ye not that they which run in a race, he's jumping to the sports metaphor. Wasn't that awkward? This is the church of awkward moments. And that was one of them. Okay? I left one of the main verses out. How do you do that? All right, so, know ye not that they which run in a race, they run all, but one receiveth the prize. So, Paul oftentimes asks a question like this, and of course, it's a rhetorical question. Don't you know how a run works? Of which we would say, well, yeah, Paul, I know how a race works, you know? And so one runs in a race, but only one receives the prize. So run. Figure out what your race is. Figure out what your win is. And so run, that ye might obtain. All right? And then he goes on with the metaphor, verse 25. And it says, and every man that striveth for the mastery is tempered in all things. So the people who run well are the ones that are disciplined, the ones that train. And here's the thing, when it comes to a race, right, one that we can see here on earth, you know who your opponent is. You know where you're at in the race. So if you're on the sports track and people are running with you, and we just saw the Kentucky Derby, right? They knew who they were trying to beat. And the ones that do well are the ones that strive for the mastery. They're the ones that work at it. They're the ones that work out. They're the ones that train for it. And so in life, in the physical realm, we get it. We understand. If you're on the football field, you line up directly against the guy. You know who your opponent is. You know who it is you need to beat to get the win. But in the spiritual realm, we need to on purpose identify what a win looks like. In the parenting realm, in the financial realm, you don't know where you're at. You don't know. Look what he says in the end of verse 25. Every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. They do it because they know exactly who they're running against. They know who they're fighting against. They know what the battle is. But and they do it to obtain a corruptible crown. The crown of the day, they took laurels. Laurels is a shiny pointy little bush, and they would make a ring. You've seen the laurel crown that they put on. It's just, you've seen it, all right? But after they win and they got the crown, they got the laurel crown, but you know what? It looks great for a day, maybe two, maybe it looks great for a week. But you know, a month down the road, it's looking pretty poor. You know, a year down the road, they're probably throwing it in the fireplace because it's nothing but a brown, dried up, dead. But yet, they work their life to win one of these. Have you heard the expression, they're resting on their laurels? They're basically, yeah. In the past, once they won something, we remember thinking about it, but their laurels are gone, but they're resting on the fact that they did good one time. But now when we get into a race, we are winning a crown that won't fade away. Our race, you know, we got to identify it on purpose. He says, and here's your takeaway. I know it's the second time. For this week, it's the last time. All right, so, therefore, so run. Therefore, so run. Identify your win. Realize that it's going to cost you something. You got to train for it. You got to prepare for it. And realize that, you know what, you're not going to end up with a corruptible crown that's just going to fade away. You're going to end up with, when you identify your win, it is going to count for something for eternity. So, therefore, so run. Not as uncertain. Don't just run around in circles. Don't just get in the rat race. Don't just be uncertain about exactly what you're trying to accomplish in a relationship or in your finances or at work or at school or your parenting style. So you don't run as uncertain. So fight I not as one that beateth the air. You don't go out there and just swing at nothing. If you're going to fight, if you're going to box, you know exactly what you're fighting against. So, what's your win look like? Maybe you're here and you've never really identified a win for eternity. Maybe you just think, okay, you know what, when it's over, and we'll see how it goes. That's not winning. That's not winning. But if you want to win in the race to eternity, you put your faith and trust in Jesus Christ. That's a win. That's a win. You're parenting or you're grandparenting, you're at work, in a relationship, finances, school. What's your win? Let's bow our heads and close our eyes. If you're here this morning and you say, you know what, preacher, there's an area in my life where I really feel like, and you got to be honest here, I really feel like I'm not winning because I just don't know what a win looks like. Would you slip that hand up and let me pray for you? Thank you. Thank you all over. Thank you. Thank you. I've just never identified what a win looks like. Anyone want to join these? Thank you. Maybe you're here, there's something in the message that resonated with you. It was meant for you. And you want to respond to God. You want to just say, that's what I needed. Would you slip that hand up real quick? Thank you. Thank you. Maybe you're here and you just say, I've never really taken eternity seriously. I just thought what comes will come. And in your heart, you want to just say, you know what, Lord Jesus, come into my life, save me from my sin, and take control of my life. I want Jesus to save me. I want to follow him. That's my win. If you just prayed and invited Christ into your life, I'd like to know that. I'll not point you out. I just want to know that. Would you slip that hand up real quick? Make sure I see it. You have none spoken this morning? Something one or something that's on your heart? Would you slip that hand up? Thank you. All right, thank you. Thank you. All right, all right, all right. Father, you know their heart, you know the situation, you know the problem, the circumstances, you know the praise or the victory. And Lord, help us to integrate our lives into your will. Help us to say the right thing to that person we're concerned about. Help us to be bold, reprove, rebuke. Help us to be an encouragement. Help us to be what we need to be. And we ask all these things in Jesus' precious name. Amen. All right. Thank you very, very much. And you are dismissed. And be a winner, not a not winner. All right. Thank you.